Hashtag the exchange student. Marcus Chen stared at the email from his professor for the third time, wondering if lack of sleep was making him see things. The message was simple enough. He'd been assigned a lab partner for his quantum engineering project. What caught his attention was the strange name, Carissa, and the note mentioning she was part of an international exchange program. International doesn't usually have apostrophes in the names, he muttered to himself, adjusting his glasses as he walked into MIT's Advanced Quantum Research Lab. The lab door slid open with its usual hiss, but the sight that greeted him was anything but usual. Standing by his workstation was a tall, slender woman with pale, almost translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with subtle hints of blue. Her hair, if it could be called that, looked like strands of flowing silver starlight. She turned to face him, and Marcus forgot how to breathe for a moment. Her eyes were like opals, shifting colors in the lab's bright lights. "You must be Marcus Chen," she said, her voice carrying an unusual musical quality. "I am Carissa. I look forward to our collaboration." Her English was perfect, though each word seemed to dance with an ethereal accent. Marcus managed to find his voice. "Yes, that's me. Welcome to MIT." He walked over to his workstation, trying not to stare at how her skin occasionally rippled with patterns of soft light. As they began working together, Marcus discovered that Carissa was brilliant. Her understanding of quantum mechanics went beyond anything he'd encountered, though she sometimes asked surprisingly basic questions about things he took for granted. "Why do you use metal in your quantum circuits?" she asked one day. "Wouldn't crystalline matrices be more efficient?" "Crystalline matrices?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That's theoretical. Nobody's managed to create stable ones yet." Carissa's skin flickered with what he'd come to recognize as embarrassment. "Oh yes, of course. I meant hypothetically." Days turned into weeks, and Marcus found himself increasingly fascinated by his mysterious lab partner. She approached problems from angles he'd never considered, and her presence made even the most tedious lab work enjoyable. They fell into an easy rhythm, working late into the night on their quantum communication project. Carissa was full of surprises. She could perform complex calculations in her head faster than their computers, yet she was amazed by simple things like coffee and snow. When it first snowed in Cambridge, she stood outside for an hour, watching snowflakes land on her luminescent skin. "We don't have anything like this where I'm from," she said softly. "And where exactly is that?" Marcus asked, seizing the rare moment she mentioned her home. Carissa's skin rippled with colors he'd never seen before. "Far away," she said simply, her opal eyes reflecting the falling snow. Their project progressed faster than anyone expected. Their quantum communication system was showing unprecedented stability, though Marcus noticed Carissa sometimes held back, stopping herself from suggesting certain improvements, as if she knew too much. One evening, as they were running final tests, Carissa's skin suddenly pulsed with deep purple patterns, something Marcus had never seen before. She held up what looked like a crystal shard that had started glowing urgently. "Is everything okay?" Marcus asked, concerned by her obvious distress. Carissa's voice trembled slightly. "Marcus, I need to tell you something. About where I'm really from. About who I really am." She paused, her skin swirling with nervous patterns. "But first, you should know that the past 3 months working with you have been the most genuine and precious experience of my life." Before she could continue, the crystal in her hand pulsed brightly, and her skin flashed with what Marcus could only interpret as alarm. Whatever she had been about to confess would have to wait, but Marcus had a feeling his life was about to become much more interesting. "We need to talk," she said, her voice carrying new weight. "But not here. Meet me at midnight, on the roof." The winter air bit cold on the roof of MIT's engineering building. Marcus pulled his jacket tighter, watching his breath form clouds in the midnight air. The door to the roof opened, and Carissa stepped out. In the moonlight, her skin glowed more brightly than he'd ever seen before. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice carrying that musical tone he'd grown to love. "What I'm about to tell you, it will change everything." Marcus nodded, trying to ignore how his heart raced whenever she was near. "I'm listening." "I'm not from Earth," Carissa said simply. Her skin rippled with waves of silver light. "I'm from a star system you call Andromeda. My full name is Princess Carissa Valduran, heir to the crystalline throne of the Valduran Empire." Marcus stared at her, waiting for the punchline. But Carissa's expression remained serious, and suddenly a lot of things made sense. Her strange knowledge, her confusion about basic things, the way her skin glowed. "A princess," he finally managed to say. "From another galaxy." "Yes." Carissa's skin flickered with nervous patterns. "Earth is part of a secret cultural exchange program with several advanced civilizations. We've been watching humanity's progress for centuries. My time here was supposed to help me understand your species better." Marcus sat down on a nearby heating vent, trying to process everything. "So all those questions about quantum mechanics, I already knew the answers," she admitted. "My people mastered quantum technology thousands of years ago. But working with you, seeing how you approach problems differently, it's been fascinating. Humans are so creative, so adaptable." "Why are you telling me this now?" Marcus asked. Carissa's skin darkened to deep purple, the same color from earlier in the lab. "The message I received today, it was from my family. They've been watching us, Marcus. They've seen how close we've become." She paused, her opal eyes shifting colors rapidly. "They want us to get married." Marcus nearly fell off the heating vent. "What?" "The Valduran Empire needs to prove we respect younger species," Carissa explained quickly. "My parents believe a royal marriage would show the galaxy that humans are our equals." But her skin flickered with soft pink lights. "That's not why I want to marry you." "You want to marry me?" Marcus felt like his brain was short-circuiting. "These past months, working with you, learning from you, I've never felt so real, so myself." Carissa moved closer, her skin glowing with warm colors. "In my world, everything is about protocol and tradition. But you see me as just Carissa. And I've fallen in love with the way you think, the way you solve problems, the way you look at the universe with such wonder." Marcus stood up slowly. "This is a lot to take in." "I know," Carissa said softly. "And there's more. If you say yes, you'll have to come to my world. Meet my family. Learn our ways." She held out her hand, and a small crystal floated above her palm, projecting an image of a magnificent crystalline palace that seemed to defy physics. "This would be your new home." Marcus looked at the projection, then at Carissa. Despite everything, the revelations, the alien technology, the talk of empires and arranged marriages, all he could think about was how much he'd miss her if she left. "What if I say no?" he asked quietly. Carissa's skin dimmed. "Then I return home tomorrow, and you'll be given technology to forget we ever met." Marcus reached out and took her hand, marveling at how her skin's glow brightened at his touch. "Then I guess I better start packing for Andromeda." Carissa's joy lit up the entire rooftop, her skin blazing with colors Marcus had never seen before. But before either could say more, a bright light appeared above them. A ship, elegant and crystalline, was descending toward MIT's campus. "That would be my family," Carissa said with a nervous smile. "They're eager to meet you." Marcus had thought nothing could surprise him after learning his lab partner was an alien princess. He was wrong. The royal ship's interior defied everything he knew about physics. Hallways shifted and changed as they walked, and gravity seemed optional. "The walls are made of living crystal," Carissa explained, noticing his amazement. "They respond to our needs." Her skin glowed with pride as she led him through the ship. "And the floating?" Marcus asked, watching a group of Valduran servants glide past them in midair. "Gravity is more of a suggestion to us," she said with a musical laugh. "Don't worry. I've asked the ship to maintain Earth normal gravity around you until you adjust." They reached what Carissa called the royal chamber. The doors opened to reveal a vast room where everything, walls, floor, ceiling, sparkled like diamonds. At the center stood three tall figures whose skin shimmered with complex patterns of light. Mother, father, honored sibling, Carissa said formally. This is Marcus Chen of Earth. Marcus bowed awkwardly, remembering Carissa's quick lessons about royal protocol. Your Majesties, I'm honored to. Oh, stop with the formalities. Carissa's mother interrupted, her skin flashing with warm colors. She glided forward, and to Marcus's shock, hugged him. Anyone who makes our daughter's skin glow like a newborn star is family. Indeed, rumbled Carissa's father, the Emperor, though his skin showed more reserved patterns. Though not everyone shares our enthusiasm. As if on cue, another door opened. A group of Valdurans entered, their skin displaying harsh, angular patterns. Marcus recognized this as anger from Carissa's teachings. Your Majesty, one of them said, you cannot seriously consider this human as a suitable match for the hair. Lord Vitar, Carissa's father warned, mind your tone. He's not even bioluminescent, another noble protested. How will he participate in the color ceremonies? Marcus stepped forward. Actually, humans do give off light. Everyone turned to stare at him. We emit infrared radiation, and under certain conditions, we can even produce visible bioluminescence through chemical reactions. He pulled a small vial from his pocket, something he'd grabbed from his lab before leaving Earth. For example, he opened the vial and poured the clear liquid over his hand. Immediately, his skin began to glow with a soft blue light. The nobles gasped. Carissa's skin flickered with surprise and delight. Luminal, Marcus explained. A simple chemical reaction. Not as elegant as your bioluminescence, but humans have found many ways to work with nature's laws. The Emperor's skin rippled with what Marcus hoped was approval. Fascinating. You understand our ways enough to prepare for them, yet you bring your own unique solutions. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared through the chamber. Red light pulsed through the crystal walls. Marcus saw something small and dark shoot toward Carissa. Without thinking, he grabbed a crystalline decoration from a nearby table and threw it at the object. The decoration shattered, releasing a spray of liquid that coated the dark object, which turned out to be some kind of energy weapon. The weapon sparked and died, its circuits shorted out by the conductive fluid. Assassination attempt neutralized, the ship's security system announced calmly. Everyone stared at Marcus again, but for a different reason now. How did you know the ornamental crystal contained electroconductive fluid? Lord Vitar demanded. Marcus shrugged. I didn't, but on Earth, we have a saying. If it looks like alien tech and it's in a royal chamber, it's probably not just decoration. The Emperor laughed, his skin blazing with bright colors. Perhaps there is more to humans than some of us thought. Though now we must discuss who sent that weapon. Carissa moved closer to Marcus, her skin glowing with both worry and pride. Welcome to royal life, my love. It's never boring. No, your skin patterns are all wrong. The Valduran etiquette teacher's own skin flashed with frustrated orange swirls. She held up a holographic mirror to show Marcus the chemical lights dancing across his skin. Another gift of Valduran technology that let him temporarily display patterns like them. I'm trying. Marcus sighed, watching the chaotic mix of colors on his skin. But there are thousands of pattern combinations to memorize. It had been 2 weeks since he'd arrived at the Crystal Palace. Every day brought new lessons in Valduran culture, politics, and traditions. Some days he studied ancient ceremonies. Others, he learned how to navigate in zero gravity without getting sick. Perhaps we should take a break, Carissa suggested, entering the teaching chamber. Her skin showed gentle, calming patterns. Marcus has been studying for 10 hours straight. The teacher's skin dimmed in resignation. Very well, Your Highness. But remember, the ceremony of light binding is in 3 weeks. He must master at least the basic royal patterns by then. After the teacher left, Marcus slumped in his floating chair. I'm starting to think this is impossible. How can I learn thousands of years of Valderan traditions in just a few weeks? Carissa floated over and took his hand. Her touch sent warm ripples through the chemical lights on his skin, one pattern he'd managed to master naturally. You're doing better than you think, and you're not the only one struggling. She pulled out what looked like a smartphone. Look at this. I've been trying to understand human wedding traditions. Why do humans throw rice? What's the significance of something borrowed and something blue? And don't get me started on the chicken dance. Marcus laughed, feeling better. I guess we're both fish out of water. Fish. Carissa's skin showed confusion patterns. Oh, an earth expression. See, I'm learning too. Their moment was interrupted by Carissa's younger sibling, Varen, entering the chamber. Unlike the rest of the royal family, Varen's skin patterns always seemed carefully controlled. Sister, the council requests your presence. They wish to discuss the political implications of your choice. Varen's eyes flickered to Marcus briefly. Carissa's skin darkened. Political implications. There are concerns, Varen said smoothly. Some believe a human marriage might destabilize the empire. There's talk of civil war. Marcus felt his heart sink. Civil war. Over us. The Valderan Empire hasn't changed its royal succession laws in 10,000 years, Varen explained. Some traditionalists believe breaking that tradition threatens everything we are. Carissa's skin flared with determination. Then perhaps it's time for change. The empire must evolve or stagnate. Easy to say, Varen countered, when you're not the one who has to implement these changes. Their skin showed a pattern Marcus hadn't seen before, something that made Carissa tense up. After Varen left, Marcus turned to Carissa. You never mentioned the marriage could cause a civil war. Because I hoped. She paused, her skin swirling with complex emotions. I hoped love could be enough. But Varen's right. The empire is dividing over this. The modernists support us, but the traditionalists. Her skin pulsed with worry. Marcus thought for a moment, then straightened up. Then we'll prove them wrong. Show them that change doesn't mean losing their identity. He focused, and to Carissa's surprise, his skin displayed a perfect pattern of royal determination. Marcus, she exclaimed. That's a perfect royal will pattern. How did you? He smiled. I realized something. These patterns aren't just decoration. They're a language. And humans are really good at learning languages when motivated. He took her hand. And right now, I'm very motivated. Carissa's skin blazed with joy. But in her eyes, Marcus saw worry remain. They both knew that mastering skin patterns was just the beginning of their challenges. Somewhere in the palace, forces were gathering against them, and time was running out. The grand ballroom of the Crystal Palace sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars. Noble Valderans floated at different heights, their skin patterns creating a living light show. Marcus stood at the entrance, trying to remember everything he'd learned about Valderan formal gatherings. Remember, Carissa whispered beside him. This is just the first test. The nobles want to see if you can handle our social events. Marcus nodded, his chemically treated skin showing careful patterns of respect and confidence. No pressure. Just floating alien nobles who think I'm going to destroy their empire. Announcing Her Royal Highness Princess Carissa and her intended, Marcus Chen of Earth. The crystal walls amplified the announcement throughout the room. All eyes turned to them. Marcus felt the weight of thousands of years of tradition judging him. Then he remembered something from his quantum engineering days. Sometimes the best solution was the simplest one. Instead of trying to float like the nobles, he walked normally across the floor. His skin displayed a pattern that combined Earth's formal greeting customs with Valderan respect symbols, something he'd created himself. Is he walking? One noble whispered. How primitive, another commented. Marcus reached the center of the room and spoke clearly. On Earth, we believe that keeping our feet on the ground helps us stay connected to reality. It reminds us that no matter how high we rise, we must remember where we came from. The Emperor's skin flickered with interest. An interesting perspective. And what other Earth wisdom do you bring to our court? Marcus smiled. Chrysa had told him this question would come. He pulled out what looked like a simple glass of water. On Earth, we have a tradition of toasts, sharing drinks to show unity. He raised the glass. I've modified this one with some Valduran crystal technology. May I? The Emperor nodded. Marcus dropped a small crystal into the water. Instantly, the liquid began to glow in patterns that matched the skin of whoever looked at it. A simple combination of earth chemistry and Valduran crystals, Marcus explained. Different, but beautiful together, like our peoples could be. The nobles murmured in approval. Even some of the traditionalists showed impressed patterns on their skin. But then Varen floated forward. Charming tricks, but can you handle real Valduran traditions? The dance of light approaches. The music changed. The Valdurans began a complex dance in 3 dimensions, their skin patterns moving in sync with the melody. Chrysa squeezed Marcus's hand. We didn't practice this one. Then we'll improvise, Marcus whispered back. He pulled her close and activated a small device in his pocket. Another creation combining Earth and Valduran tech. As they danced across the floor, their combined skin patterns created holographic trails in the air, making it look like they were floating too. Other couples had to move around them, inadvertently becoming part of their ground-based choreography. He's turning his limitation into an advantage, the Emperor observed, his skin showing approval. Or showing how he'll change everything we are. Varen countered, their skin briefly flashing a pattern that made Chrysa gasp. What is it? Marcus asked as they danced. That pattern Varen just showed. It's ancient. Forbidden. Chrysa's skin dimmed with worry. It's the mark of the Crystal Breakers, a secret society that once tried to overthrow the Empire. Marcus watched Varen float away, their skin now carefully neutral. I'm guessing they're not just worried about tradition anymore. No, Chrysa agreed, her skin showing fear patterns she couldn't hide. We need to be careful. The Crystal Breakers don't just oppose change. They destroy anything they see as a threat to their version of Valduran purity. As the dance continued, Marcus held Chrysa closer. He'd faced quantum equations that could break reality. He could handle some angry traditionalists. But the look in Varen's eyes suggested this was about more than just tradition. This was about power. Marcus couldn't sleep. The Crystal Palace was too quiet at night. No traffic noise, no humming electronics, just the faint song of the living crystal walls. He was walking through the library, his skin's glow dimmed to night mode, when he heard voices. The human has lasted longer than expected, someone whispered. But the binding ceremony will be his downfall. Marcus pressed against a crystal column, listening. He recognized Varen's voice responding. Everything is prepared. The ancient crystal is ready. Once activated, Chrysa will have no choice but to accept a proper Valduran bond. Marcus's heart raced. He'd studied about the binding ceremony. It was meant to join 2 Valdurans in marriage through their natural connection to crystals. But the ceremony hadn't been performed in its ancient form for thousands of years because it was too controlling, too absolute. Marcus. Chrysa's voice made him jump. She floated down from above, her skin showing concerned patterns. What are you doing here so late? He quickly pulled her behind the column and shared what he'd heard. Chrysa's skin paled to an almost transparent state. The ancient crystal of binding. She shivered. It was locked away because it doesn't just create a marriage bond. It can force the will of one Valduran onto another. Varen could use it to control me, force me to reject you and support them as heir instead. Not if we find it first, Marcus said. He pulled out his tablet, which he'd modified with Valduran tech. I've been studying the palace's crystal architecture. The older the crystal, the different its frequency. If this crystal is ancient, we could track its energy signature. Chrysa's skin brightened with hope. But we'd need access to the palace's core systems. Already have it, Marcus grinned. Your father gave me access for my cultural research last week. They made their way to Marcus's study room, where he'd set up what he called his quantum workshop. Combining his Earth knowledge with Valduran technology, he created interfaces that worked with both their species' methods. There, he pointed to a pulsing dot on his screen. That crystal formation is way older than anything else in the palace. It's deep in the ancient vaults. The chambers of memory, Carissa said. Varen's been spending a lot of time there, claiming to study ancient traditions. They rushed the chambers, using Carissa's royal access to bypass security. Inside, they found a vast room filled with crystalline archives. And in the center, pulsing with dark energy, sat a jagged crystal unlike any Marcus had seen. The crystal of binding, Carissa whispered. It's already activated. Step away from that. Varen's voice echoed through the chamber. They emerged from the shadows, followed by a group of nobles wearing the crystal breaker's forbidden patterns. You don't understand what you're doing, Carissa pleaded. This crystal was banned for a reason. I understand perfectly, Varen replied. Our empire needs pure leadership, not some human-tainted hybrid rule. The crystal will ensure that. The crystal pulsed darker, sending out waves of energy. Carissa gasped as her skin began showing patterns she wasn't creating. Marcus looked between the crystal, his quantum instruments, and Carissa. Years of studying quantum engineering kicked in. The crystal wasn't just ancient technology. It was a quantum device, trying to force Carissa's quantum state to align with Varen's will. Carissa, he called out, remember what I taught you about quantum entanglement, how observation affects the outcome. Carissa's eyes widened with understanding. Even as the crystal tried to control her patterns, she forced herself to look at Marcus, focusing on their shared memories, their quantum research together. No, Varen shouted. The crystal's power is absolute. But Varen had forgotten something crucial. Humans had been mastering quantum mechanics in their own way. And sometimes, the observer could change everything. Marcus's mind raced with calculations as the ancient crystal of binding pulsed darker. Carissa was fighting its control, her skin flickering between Varen's forced patterns and her own true colors. He had seconds to act. You're right about one thing, Varen, Marcus said, pulling out his Modify tablet. The crystal's power is absolute, in quantum terms, but that's its weakness too. What nonsense is this? Varen scoffed. Human science cannot compare to ancient Valduran power. Maybe not, Marcus agreed, typing rapidly. But human science asks different questions, like what happens if you introduce a competing quantum observer into a crystalline matrix. He connected his tablet to the nearest wall crystal. Immediately, his quantum programs began flowing into the palace's living crystal network. The walls around them started pulsing with new patterns, Earth equations translated into Valduran crystal language. What are you doing? One of the crystal breakers demanded. Changing the game, Marcus answered. Your crystal works by forcing quantum alignment through observation. But in quantum mechanics, the observer affects the outcome. And right now, I'm making the entire palace observe Carissa's true quantum state. The walls blazed brighter, their light spreading through the crystal network. In the center of the chamber, the ancient crystal's dark pulses began meeting resistance as the palace itself fought against its influence. Carissa gasped as the crystal's control weakened. Her skin began showing her own patterns again. Love, determination, and something new. A perfect blend of Valduran royalty and human adaptability. No, Varen raised some kind of crystal weapon. I won't let you destroy our traditions. But they had forgotten about Carissa's royal guards, who burst into the chamber, their skin showing fierce loyalty patterns. Leading them was the Emperor himself, his skin blazing with controlled fury. The only ones destroying our traditions are those who refuse to let them grow, the Emperor declared. Arrest the crystal breakers. As guards surrounded Varen and their followers, Marcus rushed to Carissa's side. "Are you okay?" She smiled, her skin glowing with their special pattern, the one that only appeared when they were together. "Better than okay. What you didn't just save me. You showed everyone that human innovation and Valduran tradition can work together." Indeed, the Emperor agreed, floating down to them. "For 10,000 years, we thought our crystal technology was perfect, unchangeable. Yet a human found new ways to use it, not by destroying our traditions, but by understanding them deeply enough to help them evolve." Varen, being led away by guards, turned back. "You'll regret this. The Empire needs purity to survive." "No," Carissa said firmly. "The Empire needs growth to survive. Look around you, Varen. Look what Marcus did. He learned our ways, respected our traditions, and then added human creativity to make them stronger." The ancient crystal of binding, still floating in the chamber center, had stopped pulsing darkly. Instead, it was starting to show the same new patterns that had appeared on Carissa's skin, the harmony of two worlds. "What will happen to them?" Marcus asked, watching Varen and the crystal breakers being taken away. "They'll face the Council of Elders," the Emperor said. "But right now we have more important matters." His skin showed formal announcement patterns. "The binding ceremony is in 2 days. And thanks to you, Marcus, it will be something new. A ceremony that honors our past while embracing our future." As they left the chamber, Marcus noticed his tablet was still connected to the palace crystals. The walls were singing with a new song, one that combined Valduran crystal harmonies with earth melodies. Like their love, it was different, unexpected, and more beautiful for being both. Carissa squeezed his hand, ready to make history. Marcus grinned. "With you. Always." The day before their wedding, Marcus stood on one of the Crystal Palace's floating balconies, looking out at the 3 moons of Carissa's homeworld. After Varen's failed coup, things had moved quickly. The Council of Elders had met, trials had been held, and now the Empire was buzzing with excitement about tomorrow's ceremony. "Credit for your thoughts?" Carissa asked, floating up to join him. Her skin glowed softly with their special pattern. "Just thinking about how much has changed," Marcus replied. "A few months ago, I was just a quantum engineering student on Earth. Now I'm about to marry an alien princess and help lead an empire." Carissa laughed musically. "And I was a princess trying to understand humans, only to find someone who would help our whole empire evolve." She touched the balcony railing, making the crystals hum. "The palace likes you, you know. The crystal network has never been more alive." Marcus smiled. After the incident with the ancient crystal, he'd continued working with the palace's systems, finding ways to combine earth science with Valduran crystal technology. The results had surprised everyone. "Your Highnesses," a royal advisor called, floating up to them. "We need to discuss tomorrow's ceremony. There are concerns about combining the traditions." They followed the advisor to the ceremonial planning chamber, where a heated debate was underway among the wedding planners. "We cannot have the human walking during the crystal ascension," one planner protested, their skin showing frustration patterns. "The couple must float together through the star arch." "But Earth traditions say the couple should walk together," another argued. Marcus and Carissa shared a knowing look. They'd been expecting this. "What if," Marcus suggested, "we don't choose between floating and walking?" He pulled out his tablet, now permanently modified with crystal tech. "Look at this design." He showed them a diagram combining Valduran crystal architecture with earth engineering. A pathway that could shift between solid and energy states, allowing both walking and floating. "The path will be solid when needed, energy when desired," he explained. "Like how Carissa and I bridge our 2 worlds." The planner's skin patterns shifted from doubt to interest. Carissa continued. "And for the vow exchange, we'll use both the crystal resonance and earth spoken words. The crystals can translate the emotions behind the words into light patterns everyone can understand." As they worked through each part of the ceremony, Blending traditions rather than choosing between them, Marcus noticed something remarkable. The palace crystals were humming with a new frequency, one that somehow combined Valduran crystal songs with Earth wedding marches. Later that evening, Chrysa's parents called them to the throne room. The Emperor and Empress's skin glowed with formal patterns. "We've been watching," the Emperor said. "How you two solve problems together. How you find ways to strengthen both cultures instead of diminishing either." The Empress continued, "The Empire needs this. Not just your marriage, but your example. Change doesn't have to mean losing who we are. It can mean becoming more." Which is why the Emperor's skin showed revelation patterns. "We've decided to create a new position. After your marriage, you'll both be appointed as ambassadors of innovation, helping other worlds and cultures find this same balance." Chrysa's skin blazed with joy. "You mean?" "Yes," her mother smiled. "You'll get to explore the galaxy together, showing others what humans and Valdurans can achieve together." Marcus grinned. "Quantum engineering across the galaxies sounds like quite an adventure." "Indeed," the Emperor agreed. "But first, you have a wedding to prepare for, and I believe Earth has a tradition about the couple not seeing each other the night before." Carissa's skin showed mock disappointment. "Really? We're following that tradition." "Hey," Marcus laughed. "Some Earth traditions are worth keeping. Besides, it'll make tomorrow even more special." As they parted for the night, the palace crystals sang around them, a melody of two worlds becoming one. The great hall of the Crystal Palace had never looked more magical. Crystal arches floated at different heights, creating a spiral path that could be either walked or floated. Earth flowers mixed with Valduran light crystals, creating patterns that danced through the air. Guests from both worlds filled the space. Valduran nobles floating gracefully while human diplomats and Marcus's family sat in specially designed crystal chairs. Marcus stood at the base of the spiral path, wearing a suit that combined Earth formal wear with Valduran crystal technology. His chemically treated skin glowed with perfect royal patterns, showing both his respect for tradition and his joy for the moment. "Nervous?" his mother whispered beside him. She had taken the news that her son was marrying an alien princess surprisingly well, especially after meeting Carissa. "Actually, no," Marcus replied, smiling. "For the first time, everything feels exactly right." The crystal walls began to sing, a harmony of Earth wedding music and Valduran crystal songs that Marcus had helped compose. Carissa appeared at the top of the spiral, and everyone gasped. She wore a dress that seemed made of living light, changing colors with her emotions. But instead of floating as tradition demanded, she began walking down the solid parts of the spiral path. Each step transformed the crystal beneath her feet from energy to matter and back again, creating a display that showed the perfect blend of their technologies. When she reached Marcus, their skin patterns synchronized automatically, something that had never happened between a human and Valduran before. The Emperor, floating above them, began the ceremony in both English and the crystal language of his people. "Today, we witness not just the union of two hearts, but the evolution of two worlds." The Emperor's voice resonated through the crystal walls. "Marcus Chen of Earth and Princess Carissa Valduran will now exchange their vows in the traditions of both worlds." Marcus spoke first, his words causing patterns of light to dance across his skin. "Carissa, you came to Earth looking to understand humans, and you helped me understand that love knows no boundaries, not even between stars. I promise to stand by you, whether we're walking on solid ground or floating among crystals, as we build our future together." Carissa's skin blazed with joy as she responded. "Marcus, you taught me that tradition becomes stronger when it grows and adapts. I promise to face every adventure with you, combining the best of our worlds, as we show the galaxy what humans and Valdurans can achieve together." The Emperor raised his hands, and the crystal network Marcus had modified activated. The entire palace lit up with their combined patterns, broadcasting the ceremony across both Earth and the Valduran Empire. By the power of the crystalline throne and the traditions of Earth, the Emperor declared, I now pronounce you united in marriage. As they kissed, their skin patterns created a light show that would be remembered for generations, the first true blend of human and Valduran energy signatures. At the celebration afterward, Marcus and Carissa took both the traditional Valduran float dance and tried teaching the human wedding guests how to dance in zero gravity. The result was chaotic, joyful, and perfectly represented their united future. Ready for our next adventure? Carissa asked later, as they prepared to leave for their honeymoon tour of the galaxies. We had a lot of worlds to visit as ambassadors of innovation. Marcus grinned, taking her hand as they stood in the doorway of their crystal ship. You know what? I think the universe better get ready for us. Their ship lifted off, trailing patterns of light that combined Earth's northern lights with Valduran crystal signals. Behind them, the Crystal Palace sang with its new hybrid song, and ahead of them stretched infinite possibilities. Sometimes the greatest innovations come not from choosing between traditions, but from finding ways to make them work together. And sometimes it takes a human quantum engineer and an alien princess to show the galaxy how it's done.